Good afternoon. Getting in my walk in between meetings and stuff. So I'm certainly overdressed and it's comfortable today, so that's nice. The big news today is that the Justice Department has finally bit into the evidence they've been collecting forever and charged Oath Keepers with seditious conspiracy, which means they tried to overthrow the government by force. And there's an indictment I haven't studied, but that's the gist of it. I put the link up to the press release from Justice on Twitter, so you can read for yourself what they had to say. This is a good development. I think it shows that constantly barking at the Justice Department to get off its lazy hindquarters and do something has had some effect. And I'm hoping in the days ahead that we'll find a way to pressure the department to keep it up. That is to say, to have former prosecutors lean on the department to do what it's charged to do, which is to enforce the law. I think that'll be effective. We also should not be surprised. I've said from the beginning that the charge that made sense was seditious conspiracy, and there are others. And I'm going to post the analysis I did this past Sunday on my podcast, both in print and the link to my podcast, because I think we're in a place where my observations fit. Another place where it fits is what's going to happen on the Hill with legislation. And what's happening on the Hill with legislation is bupkis, nada. And one of the reasons is today we had Sinema of Arizona, the senator, who's a Democrat in the caucus, say, oh, she's for the bill. She's for that bill involving voting rights. There's like nothing that she could possibly imagine she'd lead to that. But she is against voting against cloture. Yeah, we need supermajorities to suppress the vote. So she's for that. And I think one of the reasons she's for not overturning cloture is because it allows her to avoid taking positions on several bills. The Build Back Better bill, voting rights, racial justice, you name it. Because otherwise, if you don't have an amendment to get rid of cloture, a resolution, you need 60 votes. So you need more than the Democrats can possibly get if they get those two bookends, Sinema and Manchin, to agree. So we have that. The other subject, which I find upsetting, is the notion that's gotten into the ether that, we're all going to get the virus someday or other, if not Omicron, some other variant, and just sort of lean back and accept it. Well, that's wrong. That's really wrong, because a couple of things. One is it's not like your common flu. I've talked to people who've had it and survived it, and it's damn hard, even for younger people. But it does another thing. You may not come out of it. You may die. And there's a number of people who find after having the virus, they can't smell and they can't taste. I don't know. Are you prepared to give up that sense for the rest of your life? Or for months or years? Who knows? And nobody knows what other organs are affected once this thing invades your body. And the longer this infection or this virus continues to be effective, the more likely there are of other variants. So ignore these people that say, oh, it's inevitable, because I don't believe it is, number one. And if you take the precautions, you may avoid it, and you may be healthy should you get it, and they may have other boosters and so forth in the future that will help us manage, if you do get it, the illness when you do get it. The CDC director has talked about being concerned about the comorbidities and kind of made light of the fact that, the people who are dying, they have these, as many as 4 comorbidities. Well, okay, I suppose if you treat this as if we advance so many feet in a war and we can lose so many people per foot that we advance in this war, if you think that way, I guess you can do that. Inhumane. Well, and that That is kind of the modern error. That we don't cherish life. We talk about it. We talk about family and love and things like that. But these are just words, because the transcendent experience of caring about someone else is not a word. It's an act. It's a feeling. It's an entire body devoted to that other person. So that's something to keep in mind. All across France, there are teachers who are not going to work because of Omicron. People across this country are exercising their judgment to stay home, to keep their kids home from school. This is not imagination. And we had 781,000 infections yesterday. And that's the average that's a rolling average for several days. So it's probably higher than that. We're going toward 1 million, and it's going to happen. And people are going to say, oh, it's okay. Also, the number of deaths have gone up. We've seen in the past how deaths lag the infections. Makes sense. And that's where we are. Hospitals are backed up. There was a test my wife had to take, and they can't get a bed for her. And it's a diagnostic, okay, but it's an important one. They can't get a test until June. So there are people literally in worse condition who are dying because beds are being taken up by people who are refusing to take the vaccine or the boosters. And I've seen interviews, perhaps you've seen them as well, doctors saying they're angry. They're angry because people are taking up beds. People are ill who need not be ill. Is rationality the first victim of autocracy? If you look at 1984, fiction, or the real world, any dictator you want to look at in history, the dumbing down of the people is a key to domination and to suppression of speech, health, access to others, to lifestyle. So I celebrate the fact that justice got off its hindquarters and finally has indicted the Oath Keepers. The Oath Keepers, you may remember, were associated with Roger Stone on the day of the insurrection. And it was like they were part of his phalanx, his team, to oversee what was going to happen that day. If the head of the Oath Keepers is cooperating and he can put that together, we've broken the wall from below to prosecute more important people. And if the Justice Department opens an investigation against those other people, we may finally turn this nation back toward the direction of a republic, may gain the respect across the world that we need. So, my friends, there's hope. But it doesn't come about without us pushing and resisting those who are lazy and idle, who'd rather avoid the fight. We want people in this fight. We need to be in this fight. This is like very few experiences since this young experiment in democracy began. So be well. Talk to you tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.